GLM 5.2. I've been testing it for a few days and I really like it. Online reviews are actually saying how powerful and surprising GLM 5.2 is. Since then, many content creators have started making videos about it. Because it's a truly effective model and it has a few more clear tasks it's done, I actually wanted to share my own experiences and what I've done with it. In this video, I'll show how easily you can install GLM 5.2 into Claude Code and use Claude Code with GLM 5.2. I'll also show you a few examples. It's quite easy. We just change one config, or there's a repo I made called Claude X. You can use that, and just like that, Claude can even change its own model automatically. Inside Claude Code, we can use GLM 5.2 instead of Opus. Why GLM 5.2? Because it's 5 times cheaper than Opus, and similarly, its performance is very close to 4.7 in benchmarks. And GLM, the company Z.ai, said they'll release a Mythos-level model in 2027. This is an open source model. Let's not forget, GLM 5.2 is an open source model. It's not like ChatGPT. It's not like the Claude models. Those are closed. We rent those, but this model is open source. We can even shape it ourselves. It's that kind of model, so reaching this level is very valuable. I'll show you. This way, you'll see how to work with a good, powerful model more cheaply. Now let me show you a few examples. Let's look together. That part is important. By the way, I also had GLM do this edit at the beginning, so the things scrolling on the screen are from GLM. Now let's see what happened and what was done. I had actually three projects done, and for the fourth one I did a comparison. One for Opus 4.8, and we gave one to GLM 5.2. First, I wanted to have a real estate site made. Real estate site, we're looking at our Opus version. In our Opus version, you see it as Driftwood Villa. It produced this with a single prompt, just as I wanted. When you click Book Viewing, it takes you here. Okay. And this became the GLM version of it. GLM did this too, instead of Opus. Similarly, there are portfolios here. When you click View, it also sends you here. There are a few points where it couldn't quite predict the flow. It's not as sharp, but it produced a very similar project. You can see it like this. I gave exactly the same prompt to both, and it produced it for me like this. It created my landing page here. You can also see GLM 5.2 running inside Claude Code here. Now I've looked at all these tables. We'll look again at the end. I tracked every single step. I looked at the cost. On this landing page, the real estate one, Opus 4.8, it ran for a total of 5.46 seconds. It finished very quickly. It used 741,000 tokens and cost $1.65. But in GLM 5.2, the same thing cost $0.42 because it used more tokens and worked 5 times longer. That's the situation. Afterwards, we move on to the next one. In our other project, in this one, I'll show how long each model works, how many tokens it uses, and what the cost is. See it in the same project. Before moving to this, there are a few more things. But wait a second, where did we put it? I did a code test, but this is a bit of a challenging code test. I provided a customer list, and in that list, there were actually many duplicates, meaning many copied customers. And there were spelling errors for those customers. There were lowercase, uppercase, and incorrect characters. Emails matched, emails didn't match. I had such a study done and I compared the two, but I gave this task to Codex, on the Codex side, because I had seen it in Nathan's video. He had tested both with Codex, for the sake of analysis, completely as a third eye, to see how it views these two models. Something similar, a customer list I wanted. Let's say we have one with thousands of people. Some are duplicates or the same emails with different names, lots of tough issues. Here, Opus, in cleaning this customer list, scored 8.6, but GLM's score is also quite good. It passed with 7.7. So both were able to pass this. It was passed with 2 models here. Let me show you all of them. It actually got a bit complicated because we made 2 codes like this, as ID, name, email, and phone number. Here, we took the ones that matched. We merged the ones that didn't. Here, by writing code itself, actually, this kind of request for a very complex customer database, how it cleans it, we wanted to see that. We have all our things here. For example, like this, Ali is written, or Ali is written. It needs to understand these. It needs to understand it's the same customer. Or Jose is written. Again, Jose is written. But this could also be Jose. Which one will it be? Duplications and so on. It was quite a challenging thing. Here it gave an A- and a B+. These are Codex's scores, by the way. And it says here what it based them on, as you can see. Generally, there's a structural flaw. And here, a problem arose in between, like destroying the original values. But it says this is defensible because the wording is a bit problematic. And here it says it can be made much better in production. So both of them work. These were done with a single prompt, by the way. Let me put it this way. When you have this system built like this and then close this gap, you can make an incredible database agent for yourself. And GLM can do this job, and Opus can do this job too. For example, in emails like this, both passed. When written like this, they passed on the Joses, GLM overmerged. It shouldn't have merged Jose with Jose. In parts like Ali, which we call cross-key duplicate, both of them failed. There are many things here. The most important thing I can show here is Codex's comment. This my comment part is Codex's comment. It says this for Opus, for 4.8. It says there's better engineering in its structure, because in some edge case scenarios of Unicode, it found it better without expanding, it says. But GLM's approach is interesting, because it says it's simple, and because it's simple, it chose an effective method. So both think differently. You can think of it like that. It says Claude Opus, because its Unicode normalization is better, it says. The good thing about GLM is it explains well, and it shows the test quite well. What it did and what it applied is very clear, it says. Its weak point is that it over-normalizes, it says. What did both of them do? No cross-index merge. They couldn't match the email with the names. They had trouble there. That's in this inference. Now we'll move on to the other project. But before we do, I want to say something. How much is Opus needed in a day? Let's talk about this. Opus will likely cover 10 to 20% of your daily work. The other 80% can still be done by GLM. So maybe you'd give architectural planning to Opus, but do the other tasks with GLM. This way, you go for model diversity. You don't stick to a single model. You don't stay dependent, as we saw what happened with Fable. We don't know if it won't happen to Opus tomorrow or the day after. And it also saves costs. By working with many models, you actually ensure your own flows, and instead of being dependent on one company, you actually develop your own method with your own plan A, plan B, and plan C. Maybe it's much more effective because every model's mindset is different. There are benchmark scores. I'll show you those too, but not everything is about benchmarks. How you feel while using it is the most important thing. Now, I wanted us to be a bit creative. I said be creative. I told both Opus and GLM. I said be creative, show me what you can do visually. This is the project Opus came up with. It created a solar system and actually prepared a web page for us that simulates the planet's rotation around the sun. We can speed it up here. For example, as the days pass like this, we can see the rotation and position of all planets, and with reality, like this, we see the years here and the days here. Very successful. It surprised me, especially these writing styles while doing this, and also the fact that it thought of this is very valuable. Now let's see what GLM did. It thought of this itself. I just said, make something that will visually impress me. And this is GLM's. GLM did something different. It simulated wind flows, gathering them in certain areas, and created something where you interact and change the flows, altering the whole structure. Wherever I stop here, this happens. I can also easily gather all of them together by clicking right here, or if I prefer, I can scatter them over there in exactly the same way. And like this, its thing changes. All the flow directions change of the winds. I really like this visual design, to be honest. And something new formed here. As you can see, we've scattered it now. And you can change the colors here. It turned out quite nice. I liked it a lot. Now let me show the cost of this too. Here, it worked like this. How long? 11 minutes. Yes, that's right, it took 11 minutes. It used 338,000 tokens. The Opus one cost $1.36. It took 15 minutes. And the GLM one cost $0.15. Now we're moving on to something more detailed. Now let's see. This is the GLM report and this is the Opus report. Let's pull them up. There's a skill called Storm Research. This skill allows you to conduct research by opening many subagents in an intensive way. It opens from many perspectives like economist, manager, and then evaluates the second round. It produces a very detailed report. I wanted something like this too, and what I wanted was this. Does AI really work for small businesses? What's the status? AI in the small business market. Doing this took quite a long time and was a bit costly, but not too much, because both used subagents, 185 and the other 90, for the research. But they used 5 personas for this. As you can see, this is GLMs, there's academic, skeptic, economist, and historian. A very detailed report came out here, and for us, an incredibly effective system emerged because AI is changing small business operations very fast. This report was generated in the same way we had Opus generate this report too. Sorry, this is Opus's, this is GLM's. We had GLM do it too. Both did it and both got similar results. And they produced very detailed reports. This is quite a long and difficult task. To produce a report like this, to conduct research, examining all sources is a very valuable job. It tells us what could happen. These are for AI agents too, because one of our main businesses is AI agents. It's very important when deploying AI agents. To whom and how to sell, what's the market status, the pricing, the market problems. Reports like these are very valuable for us to see this, and we prepare our own reports. But with this approach, you can also take multiple agents for specific tasks and have a report like this made. You can also see the cost of this. It took 13 minutes on Opus. It took 50 minutes on GLM. Opus used 1.71 million tokens and it cost $3.38. GLM used 2.12 million tokens and it cost $0.47. All three finished quite well. It works faster. Opus works faster. But GLM is also quite successful. It just takes longer. GLM is many times cheaper for many tasks. And since GLM is open source, you can use it very cheaply. Actually, I'm showing this with the coding plan now. So we've done the comparisons here. Now we're moving on to the plan. First, you can go to Z.ai and access the GLM model. And when you click on API from here, let's click and open it. You can come to this coding plan. You have a few options in the coding plan. Actually, when you click subscribe now, you have monthly options for $16, $64, and $144. But in the same way, you can also use the API on a per token basis. But the monthly plan is much cheaper. Now we're at the coding plan. Let's look at usage. All these projects used 11% of my weekly limit. But there's something about GLM. Because these 90 agents do research, there's something called an internet search token. They used 87% of it. That was really interesting. But this happened because they did a very detailed research. This is the monthly web search. I'll look closer because I also used GLM with Hermes. But in this zero package, it used 11% of the weekly quota for all these projects. As I said, was this the €64 or dollar plan? Yes, let's see. The $64 plan. This is the plan as you see, and it's spent this way. Now, how can you set up GLM? I'll show you that first, but let's see the benchmark first. When you go to Olima's site, you can see GLM 5.2. This is a model with 756 billion parameters. Its context is also close to 1 million. We can already say it's 1 million. You can run it this way, but only from the cloud. It doesn't allow you to download it. But if you type GLM 5.2 Hugging Face, you can already see GLM as open source here. Now there are comparisons here. You can see them here. It's the GLM model from Z.ai. It's superior to 5.1. And you also see GPT 5.5. It seems superior to that in many areas. They're close in some places, and it's quite close to Opus 4.8. As you can see in most areas, it delivers similar performance. But of course, these benchmarks only matter until you use it. What happens when you use it is what counts. Still, to see how powerful it is, for example, in this ranking on Frontier, 5.2 is above GPT 5.5. Very interesting. In the marathon, it's again above GPT 5.5. Overall, it can be said to be very close to the Opus 4.7 level, not 8, but 4.7. Now, how will you set this up? How will you use it in Claude Code? Because everything we've done here was actually done on Claude Code. First, get a subscription from Z.ai, then go to the API key. Your API key is right here. Inside any project, you see many options here. Now, your projects are also here. Let me show you there's this one thing. There's settings. Let's open the terminal like this. You can do this by adding a project variable change here. I'll provide this anyway. The important thing is this. Like this, you can start it by entering your API key here. Here, you're basically switching just the project, the Claude Code project running on this folder or repo over to GLM, but there's another way. There's a repo like this. When you start from here, you can tell Claude Code to use Z.ai, Minimax, and many other projects just by using this. Just say, set it up for me, and once you provide the API key we just got, it configures Claude Code for you. The difference is that now you have both Opus installed and also GLM installed, and it works like this. When I type Claude in the terminal, as you can see here, Opus 4.8 comes up. But let me open another terminal. Let me type Claude 4. GLM appeared, as you can see. This way, we can use GLM within Claude Code. And within the same project, you can have Opus running on one side and GLM running on the other. What we're doing here is this. Claude Code harness. Think of it like a car. It's made by Claude, but normally, out of the box, the Claude model, you can use Opus or Sonnet or other models. But we take it, we change its engine, and then we put in GLM, which stands for General Language Model. Once we have put in GLM, all of these features, as well as our skills here, everything starts using GLM. Team agents, sub-agents, GLM gets included in all our projects too. You don't need to break anything. No need to give up on Claude. You can also run DeepSeek, GLM, or Gemini simultaneously with this method, but as I said, if 10 to 20% of the work is Opus and 80% is GLM, it would really save costs and make a big difference. You won't be tied to a single model. I'd say give it a try. I hope it's been helpful. I've shown it here. I'm also leaving a guide in the link below on how to set it up. You can read that guide step by step for this, or you can give that guide to Claude and it'll set it up for you. As I showed, I did an experiment and compared them. We'll be looking more into this GLM, because if my thoughts don't change, I'm satisfied so far. I'll also show you how you can do many projects with GLM. See you.